My girlfriend laughed and said, "What are you gonna do? Break up with me?" After I caught her texting her ex, I didn't say a word, just walked to the bedroom and started packing. She stopped laughing when she saw I was putting in the suitcase. I, 29M, never thought I'd be the type to walk away without a fight. But sometimes life teaches you that the loudest statement you can make is complete silence. It started 3 weeks ago on a Tuesday evening. I had come home early from work, excited to surprise my girlfriend with takeout from her favorite Thai place. We'd been together for 2 years, living together for 8 months. I thought we were solid. I thought I knew her. The apartment was quiet when I walked in. I called out to let her know I was home, but got no response. The living room was empty, her laptop open on the coffee table, screen glowing. I set the food down and glanced at the screen, not meaning to snoop, just checking if she'd left something important open. What I saw made my blood freeze. A chat window was open. Messages between her and her ex-boyfriend. Not just any messages, intimate ones. Recent ones. The timestamps showed conversations happening while I was at work, while I was sleeping next to her, while I was planning our future together. 3 months of secret communication. 3 months of her telling him how she missed him, how she was confused about us, how she wondered if she'd made a mistake. I stared at the screen for what felt like hours, but was probably only minutes. My hands were shaking as I scrolled up, seeing weeks of messages. She'd been meeting him for coffee. She'd been sharing details about our relationship, our problems, our intimate moments. She'd even sent him photos I'd taken of her during our weekend getaway last month. The sound of the shower running upstairs suddenly registered in my mind. She was home. She'd just left her laptop open, probably thinking I wouldn't be back for hours. The carelessness of it made everything worse somehow. She wasn't even trying to hide it well. I closed the laptop and sat down heavily on the couch. The Thai food sat forgotten on the counter, the smell that had made my mouth water now making me nauseous. Everything I thought I knew about our relationship was crumbling around me. Every sweet moment from the past few months was now tainted with the knowledge that she'd been sharing it with someone else. When she came downstairs 20 minutes later, hair wet and wearing the robe I'd bought her for Christmas, she smiled at me like nothing had happened. She asked about my day, noticed the food, kissed my cheek. The normalcy of it was surreal. I found myself responding automatically, going through the motions while my mind raced. I didn't confront her that night, or the next day. Instead, I did something that surprised even me. I started planning. I began quietly organizing my life, preparing for what I knew was inevitable. I opened a new bank account, started looking at apartments, made copies of important documents, all while acting completely normal around her. The hardest part was watching her, really watching her. Now that I knew what to look for, I saw everything differently. The way she guarded her phone, angling it away from me when she texted. The way she'd suddenly become more interested in working late or meeting friends I'd never heard of. The way she'd started picking fights over small things, as if she was trying to justify what she was doing. For 3 weeks, I gathered information like I was building a legal case. I found out where her ex lived, where he worked, how serious their relationship had been before me. I discovered they'd dated for 3 years, had lived together, had even talked about marriage. The conversations on her laptop revealed that he'd reached out to her after his own relationship ended, claiming he'd made a mistake letting her go. But the worst part wasn't the cheating itself. It was reading her responses. She wasn't just entertaining his attention, she was encouraging it. She told him details about our sex life, complained about things I did that annoyed her, even made fun of the gift I'd given her for our anniversary. She'd turned our entire relationship into entertainment for someone else. The breaking point came exactly 3 weeks after my discovery. I had spent the day apartment hunting and had put a deposit down on a place across town. Everything was arranged. My new lease would start the following Monday. I'd already given my boss a heads up that I might need some time off for personal reasons. That evening, she was on the couch again with her laptop. This time, she wasn't as careful. Maybe she'd gotten comfortable, or maybe part of her wanted to be caught. When I walked into the living room, I could see the chat window clearly. She was typing a response to a message asking when she'd finally leave me. Her response was what broke something inside me permanently. She told him she was just waiting for the right moment, that she needed to figure out the apartment situation first since her name wasn't on the lease. She was using me. Our relationship had become nothing more than convenient housing while she planned her exit strategy. I must have made some sound because she looked up suddenly, saw me standing there, and quickly closed the laptop. But it was too late. We both knew I'd seen enough. She immediately went on the defensive, asking why I was spying on her, accusing me of not trusting her. The irony would have been funny if it wasn't so devastating. When I calmly asked her to explain what I'd just seen, she tried to gaslight me, claiming I was paranoid, that it was just friendly conversation with an old friend. But when I pressed further, when I made it clear that I'd seen enough to know exactly what was happening, her entire demeanor shifted. The mask slipped completely. She became cold, almost cruel. She told me that maybe this was for the best, that we'd been having problems anyway, that I should have seen this coming. And then she said the words that would echo in my mind forever. She laughed, actually laughed, and asked what I was going to do about it. Break up with her? The mockery in her voice was unmistakable. She thought she held all the cards. She thought I was too weak, too invested, too afraid of being alone to actually leave. That's when something clicked inside me. Not anger, not hurt, but something much colder. Clarity. I didn't say a word. I looked at her for a long moment, memorizing her face with that smug expression, and then I walked upstairs to our bedroom. I pulled out the suitcase I'd bought for our planned vacation next month and opened it on the bed. I heard her footsteps on the stairs about 10 minutes later. She appeared in the doorway, and I could see the exact moment she realized what I was doing. The confidence drained from her face like water from a broken dam. She asked what I was doing, her voice suddenly smaller, uncertain. I continued packing methodically, clothes, toiletries, the few personal items that were truly mine. I'd already moved most of my important stuff gradually over the past few weeks, so this was really just the final pieces. She started talking rapidly then, trying to backpedal. She claimed the messages didn't mean anything, that she'd never actually met up with him, that she was just confused and needed someone to talk to. The lies came so easily that I wondered how many others I'd believed over the past 2 years. When I still didn't respond, she switched tactics. She became angry, accusing me of being dramatic, of overreacting to harmless flirtation. She said I was throwing away 2 years over nothing, that I'd regret this, that I'd come crawling back when I realized how good I'd had it. I finished packing and zipped up the suitcase. Only then did I finally speak. I told her calmly that I'd been planning this for 3 weeks, ever since I first found their messages. I explained that I'd already found a new apartment, that I'd be moving out over the weekend, that she could keep everything in the apartment since most of it was hers anyway. The look on her face was worth every sleepless night I'd had since my discovery. Shock, panic, and something that might have been respect, all mixed together. She genuinely believed I wouldn't have the backbone to leave. She'd counted on my love for her, making me accept whatever scraps of affection she was willing to offer. She tried a different approach then, becoming tearful, apologetic. She begged me to sit down and talk it through, promised she would cut contact with her ex immediately, swore that she'd never actually cheated physically. She painted herself as confused and overwhelmed, claimed she loved me and didn't want to lose me. But it was too little, too late. I'd had 3 weeks to process everything, to work through the anger and hurt and betrayal. By the time of our final confrontation, I'd reached a place of complete emotional detachment. I felt nothing when she cried. Her promises meant nothing because I'd learned exactly how much her word was worth. I told her that the relationship was over, that there was nothing to discuss. I explained that I'd already spoken to the landlord about removing my name from the lease, that all the utilities were in her name anyway, that she'd have no trouble maintaining the apartment on her own, especially once her ex moved in. That last comment hit home. Her tears stopped abruptly, replaced by a flash of anger. She accused me of being cold, of never really loving her, of being the kind of person who would abandon someone over a mistake. The projection was stunning. She was describing exactly what she'd been doing to me for months. I picked up my suitcase and headed for the door. She followed me downstairs, still talking, still trying to find some combination of words that would undo the past 3 weeks of careful planning. When I reached for my car keys, she grabbed my arm, begging me to stay, to give her another chance. I gently removed her hand and told her that chances were something you gave people before they betrayed your trust, not after. I wished her well with her ex and walked out the door. Update 1. The next few days were surreal. I stayed in a hotel while waiting for my new apartment to be ready, and I kept expecting to feel something: sadness, regret, loneliness. Instead, I felt lighter than I had in months. I realized I'd been carrying the weight of her deception without even knowing it, sensing something was wrong, but unable to put my finger on it. She called and texted constantly for the first week. The messages went through every stage of grief in rapid succession. Denial, claiming I was making a huge mistake over nothing. Anger, telling me I was heartless and would end up alone. Bargaining, offering to go to counseling, to be completely transparent, to do whatever it took. Depression, sending long emotional messages about how sorry she was, how much she loved me, how empty her life felt without me. I didn't respond to any of it. I'd learned that silence could be more powerful than any argument or explanation. Every ignored message was a statement that she no longer had access to my emotional energy. The most telling message came on day 6. She told me that her ex had changed his mind about getting back together, that he'd decided to try to work things out with his own ex-girlfriend instead. Suddenly, she was completely alone, and I was looking like a much better option. The timing wasn't coincidental. By the second week, my new apartment was ready. Moving in was therapeutic. Every piece of furniture I bought, every picture I hung, was a step toward building a new life. I realized how much of our shared space had been dominated by her preferences, her style, her needs. For the first time in 2 years, I was living somewhere that felt completely mine. Update 2. A month after leaving, I ran into one of her friends at the grocery store. The conversation was awkward but illuminating. She told me that my ex had been complaining to everyone about how I'd left without giving her a chance to explain, how I'd been planning my exit in secret like a coward. But this friend had always been more perceptive than the others. She asked me directly if there had been more to the story than just suspicious texts. When I confirmed that there had been months of emotional affair behavior, her expression changed completely. She admitted that my ex had been acting strangely for months, canceling plans, being secretive about her phone, asking weird questions about whether someone could love 2 people at once. She'd suspected something was going on, but hadn't wanted to get involved in relationship drama. Then she told me something that validated every decision I'd made. 2 weeks after I left, my ex had started posting on social media about being in a relationship again. Not with her ex, but with someone completely new, a coworker she'd never mentioned to me. The timeline suggested she'd been juggling at least 3 different men simultaneously. The friend apologized for not speaking up sooner and said that most of their mutual friends now understood why I'd left the way I did. Apparently, my ex's version of events hadn't held up under scrutiny once people started paying attention to her behavior patterns. Update 3. It's been 6 months now since I walked out, and I can honestly say it was the best decision I ever made. The woman I thought I knew never really existed. I'd been in love with a carefully crafted persona, while the real person was someone who could lie, cheat, and manipulate without any apparent conscience. The revenge I'd planned wasn't dramatic or destructive. It was simply removing myself completely from her life, depriving her of the stability and emotional support she'd taken for granted while shopping around for something better. She'd gambled that I would always be there as a backup plan, and she lost. I learned later through mutual friends that she'd struggled significantly after I left. Losing her safety net had forced her to confront the reality of her choices. Her new relationship lasted less than 2 months, and she'd cycled through several others since then, apparently unable to maintain anything stable. Meanwhile, I've thrived. I got a promotion at work, started traveling again, rekindled friendships I'd neglected, and recently started dating someone new. Someone who actually respects me and our relationship enough to be honest about her feelings and intentions. The hardest lesson was accepting that love isn't always enough. I'd genuinely loved her, had been planning a future with her, had been ready to propose within the year. But love without respect, trust, and basic human decency is just emotional dependency. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is simply walk away. No dramatic confrontations, no attempts to hurt them back, no grand gestures of anger or pain. Just quiet, dignified removal of yourself from a situation where you're not valued. She taught me that actions reveal character in ways that words never can. Her actions showed me exactly who she was, and my response showed both of us exactly who I was. I chose self-respect over convenience, truth over comfort, and my future over a past that was built on lies. The woman who laughed when I discovered her betrayal, who mocked the idea that I might actually leave, learned too late that underestimating someone's capacity for self-respect is the fastest way to lose them forever. I never looked back, and I never will. If you'd like to see more stories like this, a gentle tap on the subscribe button would mean the world to us. Please subscribe.